There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out, slowly feel all that's around you, all that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. Yeah, when we unite. Oh, we unite. Yeah, yeah, when we unite. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you. In fact, good you. I used to say that many, many years ago, but I don't say that as much anymore. Actually, I hardly say it. Oh, let me make sure my sound is fine. Yep, you can hear me, right? Leslie, I'm good with sound. Thank you very much. I listened to John Stringer's words as I get ready to start the show. And those words, the lyrics, they're definitely prayer. It's a prayer for my soul. And I trust that it has the same effect on you in a sense that it brings you to, I want to do something here, something weird. I don't want to end the broadcast. I need to find a button here, but it's behind my setup. There we go. Great. That it connects you with yourself, with your truth. If you want to check out more about John Stringer, you can go to his website, John Stringer, String ER, John Stringer Inc.com. He's a guitarist. He strings it together. So, he had to be a musician. He couldn't help it. He had no choice. John Stringer Inc.com. You can find out more about his work. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And thank you for giving yourself permission to be transformed. In 2020 has been a year of transformation. For some of us, it's been a great year, even in the midst of it all. For some of us, it's been a year from hell. The transformation will happen. Sometimes we can resist it. But transformation is always available to us. And we're going to talk more about that. And speaking of transformation, I am Ade, your transformational beingness artist. So if you want to go through and grow through a transformation, I am the one. Wendy, oh my goodness. So somebody just stepped in Instagram that I haven't seen in yonks. So yes, if you want to go through and grow through a transformation, I am your man. I am the minister of consciousness to support you in embracing the truth of who you are. Welcome to another episode of Ade Presents Being You, season 2, episode 33. Today's Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. The theme, the topic, the conversation is, hey Charlie, is hindsight in 2020, a year in review. We're looking back in the present moment, and we're not waiting to go to 2021, 2023, 2026, whatever, to look back and say, oh, now it all makes sense. Well, we're always going to gain more depending on how we look back, depending on what we're looking for. However, there is a gift in this moment if we're willing to just not curse 2020 and say we're going to curse it, die, and move to the next level. But if we just say, what is the gift here? What has been the challenges that I've gone through? What am I struggling with? We ask ourselves deeper questions. We can actually get that 2020 vision right now. We invite you to join us on the Facebook, the Being You Facebook page, Being You podcast Facebook page. For more interactive experience. So basically, because we have this link in different places too. Yeah, I had to say that twice, right? So if you're watching somewhere else and you're not on the Facebook page, my profile page, or the Being You podcast page, or the my YouTube channel, Life Conversations Media. If you're not there, chances are we won't see your comments or your questions. If you have questions, something you want to add to the conversation, we invite you to go to the Being You podcast Facebook page, or you can go to YouTube. Look for the channel, Life Conversations Media. So much. On the show, every time the invitation is to take a look at yourself. We invite you to really just be, to take a moment to just stop and check in and see how you see yourself, how you see the world, how you see yourself in the world, and how you see the world in you. When you take those moments to be still, whether you do it 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, or even 1 minute a day, and you take a moment to reflect, to go in, to ask yourself deeper questions, to sense, to notice what you notice about yourself, you create the place and the space in consciousness to be transformed, to see things differently. And this show is all about that. Ade Presents Being You. It's about getting you, returning you, inviting you to go back to the essence of who you are, yourself. There is a part of you that is. It is. It doesn't care what you do or don't do. It doesn't care if you forgive or don't forgive. It doesn't care if you're sick. It doesn't care. And it's not like a sort of egotistical, I don't care. It just is. Fire. Fire doesn't care if you're going to burn a house down with it. It does what it does. It doesn't care if you're going to cook something delicious or warm yourself up. Fire is. There is a part of you that is rooted in divine intelligence, that is rooted in truth, that knows, one with infinite intelligence. And whenever we take time to tune into it, we catch a new reality. Sometimes we may not hear something. Sometimes we just feel. Sometimes we can feel, I didn't hear, I didn't feel, I don't know what I'm supposed to hear. Just your intention to say, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to allow myself to reset is good enough. That's what this show is about. That's what my work is about. Returning people back to themselves. And today we're going to go deeper, as we always do, from week to week, as we step into that consciousness of hindsight in 2020 and take a look at what you are going through and growing through. Good morning, my dear sister Kwali Stripling Shannon. Kwali Soul Sister. So however I say it, there's still the two S's. I remember when Kwali started using her, I guess, maiden, well, I don't know, before she had a double barrel name, like Jamaicans would say. And the first time I saw it, I thought she said Kwali Trippin'. I'm like, Trippin'? Why? Why are you making that announcement? And then she said, Ade, you're tripping. I'm like, yep, I'm definitely tripping. Nice to see you. Those of you who are not in the chat room, I call you silent listeners. Thank you for being here. Those of you on Being You podcast Instagram account, thank you. Those of you on the Life Coach Ade Instagram account, thank you. Oh my God, everybody, not everybody, but people I haven't seen in years are just popping up. Peggy, so nice to see you. How are you feeling? Oh, my angels, indeed. So let me tell you something. I'm feeling so much today. Leslie and I, my producer, who will be stepping in soon, we've been talking about this show, and we've definitely had some great conversations about, just what we want to share today. And I woke up today feeling so much and feeling kind of pulled in, and I guess I could say not be careless with my thoughts, because I woke up in that energy where I felt like this idea, thinking of a Course in Miracles idea, where I was attacking myself with my own thoughts, how I felt when I woke up. In essence, sometimes we say I was doing something to me, but sometimes maybe you are not doing it to you. Maybe you wake up into an energy, a planetary energy shift that is happening. And I really believe that's what happened for me. And it may be happening for some of you. I woke up into it. And before I could start thinking about other things, I was having this. I could feel the thoughts that I was having, that they were not empowering. They're not, I'm refraining from saying higher frequency thoughts, but I'll say it that way, higher vibration. And as I lay down there and just talking to spirit and just trying to understand, and the spirit voice said, when you use your thoughts against yourself, when you're attacking yourself, yeah, you're going to believe. You're believing that you're guilty. You're believing that you can do something wrong. You believe that there is something wrong. And it took me to thinking about A Course in Miracles, and where one of the lessons is my attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. My attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. So whenever we're judging ourselves, whenever you judge yourself, you're attacking yourself. Whenever you project or judgment, have a judgmental thought about somebody else, you're attacking yourself. And when you attack yourself, you basically believe you're not invulnerable. So by attacking yourself, you feel vulnerable to external circumstances. So when you do, you feel like you have to be on guard and protect yourself. But when you start aligning with thoughts that are affirming, thoughts that inspire the best in you, thoughts that affirm you, it shifts everything. You'll really connect with your own invulnerability. And the invitation is to recognize that thoughts are powerful and it don't mean anything until you believe the thought. I'm intentionally slowing that down. Thoughts mean nothing. They have an energetic charge, an impulse, but when you believe the thought, that's when you have an experience based on the thought that you were thinking or thoughts that you received. So even if the thought is a positive thought, doesn't mean anything until you believe it. Example, if you're going through a hard time and you call a friend and they're giving you all this positive thing because they're hearing it, sometimes some of them are just trying to gas you behind, just like, you're great, you're amazing, I love you, you can do it. Sometimes it's just a audio meme. I believe in you. I know you need to hear this. And there are times when we are just speaking to the heart of the person. And they can sometimes feel it. And sometimes they can't because of what they're dealing with. There's nothing wrong. It's just where they are. You're planting a seed. But in that moment, if you are the one that can't receive it, you hear the words, it feels good, it feels right, but something in you cannot grab hold to it. So when you can't grab hold to it, it means nothing. But it does go through. You can choose to pick it up. You can choose to water it. You can choose to say, why does my friend always see the best in me when I'm in a funk? Well, is that true? Or are they just speaking, just expressing platitude? They're just trying to gas me up and, they didn't want to feel their own sadness. And they're like, oh, don't worry, don't cry. It'll be okay, girl. Girl, get over yourself. Maybe. But really, it's about the thought that once we join with a thought, that's when it really matters. So what thought are you holding today? What thought am I holding today? It's funny. Okay, so there's a question in the chat room and I'm going to address that in a minute. I think I do, and I'm not even going to look at your Facebook page, but I didn't think it was Andra. I thought it was Andre. So I may be wrong, but I feel your spirit. That's a way out. If I don't remember your name, we're connected. So of course I remember you. I want to share some announcements of things that are happening with me that you might be interested in. So Wednesday, tomorrow, that's December 16th, 2020, I am joining Ricky Byers on her show, Soul Fulfilling, Soulful Music and Soulful Conversation. Tomorrow, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, that's 9 p.m. Eastern, and that's 2 a.m. UK time. The show will be streamed through Ricky's Facebook pages and her YouTube page. And I would actually share the link on my pages as well, maybe even on the Being You podcast. Maybe. I don't know. But I'll definitely share it on my personal page. So if we're not friends on Facebook or you don't do Facebook, I don't know. Whatever link we do use, I will share it somehow. Maybe on social media, Instagram, find me, So that's 6 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. UK time. That's right. So I'm going to take a nap before then so I can come back refreshed. And some of you know Ricky was here last week and we had a great conversation. And Ricky and I have been talking about, she's been saying she has a radio station, B Radio. B, the letter B, alphabet B, radio. Check it out. And so if you know Ricky, you get to hear all the songs that she gave birth to or that she co-gave birth to. Because some of the songs was co-written with her and Michael Bernard Beckwith. And those of us who followed or still following Agape know those songs are just they're magic, they're medicine, they're powerful. And you can hear it on bradio.org. It may be that I join Ricky every week. We're working it all out. But I know I'm going to be there tomorrow. Actually, that would be not tomorrow for me. That would be 2 days from now, because that would be Thursday morning, 2 a.m. But check it out if you can. Come hang out with us. And on Thursday, I'm going to be joining my friend Michelle Lowe. She's interviewing me on her podcast. Michelle Lowe, her podcast is called Joy of Connection. The Joy of Connection. That's 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. UK time. 12:30 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday, 3:30 Eastern p.m., of course, and 8:30 p.m. UK. So, busy week. I mean, I don't know why I'm saying busy week, as if last week wasn't. And next week is like, woohoo, I'm ready for more. But yeah, so on Michelle's show, we are talking about romantic relationship and friendship between male and female and whatever else. She got some questions for me. And I'm excited to be there. She's excited to have me. And so yeah, you can check me out there in the chat room. So let me see, Andra. I think you spell your name different. I can't right click on your name, but I can do this, maybe. Because the first thing that comes to mind when I saw the name was Andre. So maybe you say your A with it like that, Andre, as opposed to Andra. And I'm thinking Trinity House. But let me know if I'm right, because you wanted to know if I know it. So who else is in here? What are you doing? How are you being? What is going on in your world? 2020 is coming to an end, but it really isn't, because you get to take it with you. Well, it is somewhat coming to an end, but you get to decide if you're going to leave it here or you're going to take it with you. And the truth is, it's part of your experience. So yeah, of course you're going to take it with you, but what are you taking from 2020? Of course, Andre. Oh yeah, you change your name on me, or maybe I'm changing your name on you. Yeah, I remember you, my brother. Showing us in the chat room. I love. No. Let me read that again. Showing us said, I am love. I love. And I am loved. Yes, indeed. I feel you, my dear sister. Thank you for being here. So yeah, what are you going through? What gifts or trouble or challenges or whatever you want to call it has 2020 presented you? What have you been struggling with? What has been the toughest experience you've had in 2020? Also, what gifts have you received? You know, what has it been like? How have you navigated this year? This year has been, this is one year where most of us can say, if not all of us, and I say all of us, those of us on the planet can say, this is a year like none other, because we have definitely been forced to see that we are connected. We've been nudged to see that what happens to one in another country can happen to another. We've also learned all kind of scientific ways to be with one another, and about viruses. Like when you walk into a restaurant, the virus will be like, "Oh, got a mask on. You wait till you take your mask off. I'm gonna get you." And then we've learned that when you sit down to eat and you take your mask off, the virus will be like, "Oh, damn, they're about to eat. Let me just stop." We're also learning that we are all learning. We're learning that we're learning. Our leaders are learning on the journey. They're learning. They're doing their best. We're all doing our best. And we all don't have the answers. So for me, I feel like this year on so many levels is inviting us to be compassionate. This is the year where you get to do what you've always wanted to do. If you're not doing it yet, this is the time to do it. Whatever that is. And if you don't know, volunteer your time. Just give your time somewhere. Give of yourself. There are people who are, businesses have closed. Caregivers, caretakers, nurses, doctors, first responders have been given so much. People have had to sacrifice. It is a challenging time. Now, I'm going to say this out loud because it, not necessarily, I don't know if it's transparency. I guess it is, because I don't want to give an impression that, let me rephrase it. I can say that this year for me, not necessarily the best year, but what I can say is I have experienced more heart opening, more expanding experiences, more experience to be grateful. I've felt things. However, there are people that I've seen go through 2020 and it's been hell. It has been hell. And sometimes we don't know why some things happen. We don't know why people go through what they go through. There are some people who are having the best time of their life. Some people are saying this is the worst. Some people are in between, like, I don't know what the hell is going on. But the thing is, there is an invitation. We have an invitation to really check in with ourselves and be honest with ourselves. I was sharing earlier how I woke up with thoughts this morning, and the thoughts were thoughts of attack. And because of things that I was afraid of. And some of it, it's almost like they were waiting by my bed for me to wake up, like a 4-year-old who's hungry, but polite enough not to wake you. And they're just standing there, blinking. And then you wake up and you're like, what you doing over here? I'm like, I'm hungry. Those thoughts were waiting. And for those of us who, well, let me say it this way. I'm going to generalize and say all of us, this is a time for us to be responsible for our own healing process. If it means going to therapy, if it means going to a plant medicine ceremony, if it means forgiving, if it means forgiving self, a family member, if it means really stepping out to do the thing that you've always wanted to do, this is the time. We must be responsible for our own healing. Because life is going to continue to be life. And 2021, we really don't know what's going to happen. We're hoping. A lot of us are hoping and wishing that 2021 is going to be better than 2020. What if it appears that we're dealing with the same thing? And the key word is appears, like we're going through the same thing. Well, the appearance is based on how we're viewing it. This year has opened the portal, a door to some things that we've been talking about for many years to come. What is it? 2012, we talked about, 2012, things are changing. The year 2000, let's start there. And the millennials and the computer, the millennium and the computer won't work and things are changing. I think it was 2012 that we talked about, this is a year of unity and people are going to unite and we're going to love one another. And, there are those of us who are psychics and intuitives and astrologers who say, things are just going to be this and that. And it's happening. However, for the light to shine through, we've got to clear the mess. We've got to clear the crap. It's like a detox. If you feel like your body is giving you a nudge that some things not quite right, you might choose to do a detox. And the detox process, it ain't pretty. There's cramping, there's all kind of stuff. There's all kind of, I got to go run to the bathroom because you don't know which one is coming, You sit down, you're like, okay, thank God for that. You can figure everything else that I didn't say in that statement. But it's uncomfortable. You may want to stay close to the house because there is a process going on through you, going on through you and as you, that you need to be close to home. And the home could be your physical home or close to your heart. In this case, it's both. We have been forced, for the most part, to stay home, to come back home to ourselves. We've been so out there in the world, taking meaning for what we have, material wealth, what other people are doing, what we're seeing on social media, people's selfie. And life has given us an opportunity to come back to ourselves. And some people are struggling. Some people are challenged. And no matter how bad it is, there is always an answer in the same room. The answer is there. And sometimes you may be the answer for somebody else. And as you invest in somebody else, when it's your time to be asking the questions, the time and energy that you invested in another, which is really what you invested in yourself, because you can't be loving and compassionate to another if it's not coming, if it's not self-generated. So what lessons of clarity has this year brought you? What have you discovered about yourself? Is this giving you an opportunity to keep doing the same thing you've always done? Is it giving you an opportunity to say, this relationship is not for me anymore? Maybe, well, we got to do something different in this relationship. Or maybe it's, I got to communicate differently. And people are doing it. People are cleaning out. Because in times like this, you have no choice but to get real. If you're serious about evolving, growing, expanding, and returning to your innocence, that inner essence, the part of you that is always there, no matter what you're going through. What are some of the things you've learned? What wisdom do you have to share with others who have lost family members? There are people, there's a friend of mine who has lost 2 people in her organization and family members, like in the last 2-3 weeks. That's not easy. I don't know if we've actually prepared ourselves for what we're going through right now. This year has been incredibly transformative. Whoo-wee. Yes. You're listening to Ade Presents Being You. And we're looking back. And we're inviting, in fact, not only are we inviting you to share in the chat room, we're actually inviting you to come on the show. Something we've never done before. Well, I usually bring guests on, but you as the viewer, audience, watcher, listener, you want to share your experience. We have a link that we'll share with you. My producer will share it. You have to reach out to her on Facebook. And if you're not on Facebook, you got to somehow send the message. Somehow. Actually, it doesn't matter if you're not on Facebook, because my profile page, you can send a message through that. You can also send a message through Being You podcast page. You can send a message through there. Just post under the show. So that'll be easier. You don't have to have a Facebook account to do that. Or you can post it in YouTube. You can post it in YouTube. We can see it. And we'll share the link with you. And that will bring you, and you'll join us live to share your story, what you've learned. What have you learned? What are you holding back on? What are you, what do you know you need to do, but somehow you're still afraid? Leslie and I yesterday went through all the shows I've done this year. And I laugh because it's all about intention, you know. Sometimes we don't experience what we're praying for because we're not willing to be different. And life will always answer the prayer, always, whatever the prayer is. The answer may not look like what you think is going to be. So you may think your prayers are not being answered. But you got to be willing to be different. So I've been thinking of looking at all the shows that I've done this year. You know, I do at least 4 shows a month. and sometimes there's 5 shows a month, depending on how many Tuesdays there's in that month. And I thought, "Ooh, that's a lot. I don't think I have time to do that." Then I thought, well, maybe I'll ask Leslie to do part of the month, and I'll do part of the month, so we could, take the load. It's not too heavy on one of us, both of us, or whoever's doing it, just one person doing it. And then I thought, well, Leslie might not mind doing it, but I said, no, for me, it was too overwhelming to start from January to December. I thought that's just way too much. Now, when I sent her a message, I was just kind of thinking out loud about it. And I sent a message. I said, I'm just thinking about reflecting on the shows we've done in the past. And later on, when we talked, she said, so you mentioned something about collecting all the titles, the themes and topic for the shows you've done in 2020. So do you want me to do something with that? And I was like, well, I went into that long story of like, well, I was going to ask you to do it, but it feels like it's too much. And then I was going to do it. And then maybe you can do half of it and I'll do half of it. And she said, you want to do it now? And I remember feeling like, yeah, but I got things to do. I got something to edit, which I end up editing around 2 a.m. in the morning. But I was like, oh. But in that moment, I knew that was an answered prayer, even though it felt uncomfortable because of the plans that I've had. And we went through it. I don't even think it took 30 minutes. And it was powerful to see the conversations that I've had and people who've joined me in the conversation. And I'm going to bring her on in a minute because, I want to ask her. Well, you guys have never seen her. You've heard me introduce her. Leslie joined me maybe 3 months ago? I don't even think it's 3 months. Yeah, I know. It's about 2 months, right? One. No, it's not one. Definitely not. Okay, come on here. I'm talking to you behind the scenes. Just come on. Bring yourself on. You know what to do. Hello. Hey, Russell. How are you doing? Hey, Leslie.
Hi, everybody.
Look, we forget to adjust the hair because you're like this. Most people they won't notice it until I fix up now to do because I brought it up.
You're so that's tall when you're sitting down. That's what you're just taller than me.
How about that? I know it feels weird. I can't do it. It feels weird. I'm sorry. Hey, Leslie, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you all day? Long time no see.
Yeah, you get to be on the show live.
I
know. Are you nervous?
I am that I am. I am being me and all.
You're taking it all in. Nervousness is good.
Yes. Lots to think about,
Say that again?
Said lots to think about,
Indeed. And I got to warn myself now. I'm going to take a deep breath because Leslie and I were both storytellers. We have a lot to say about a lot of things and about nothing. So we'll start stepping all over each other. So I'm just going to take a deep breath. And so, Leslie, how long have we been working together? 2 months?
So for the podcast, only about a month.
No, it's not. It can't be.
Yeah.
No.
Because Coke's episode was let me see, November 17th. Episode,
you said November 17th?
Yeah.
That's the first show you produced?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. It seems like you've been here longer. I mean, I've known you longer, of course, but it's amazing. It's amazing. Okay.
Hi.
So, well, yeah, before I ask you the question about 2020, tell listeners about yourself. What do you do? What excites you? What lights your fire? What makes you go, yes, I want to get out of bed? What thoughts excite you? What kind of thoughts? What kind of things?
I'm a pretty spirited individual. So, I mean, just seeing the beauty of life and experiencing it. My goal, obviously working with Ade and being here on the show, and I'm concerned about ascension and being the best version of myself. And I do a lot of things that work with that, from like static dance to studying human design to, you know, sacred economy to priestessing. You know, so if it's woo woo, I guess it's my thing, but it's I'm just trying to be my best version and in service and connection and part of this beautiful divine plan, and just being what and observing, just, you know, being able to watch those thoughts, like what you say, and they're there, and just being like, oh, I'm not even that. I gotta just observe and play and dance and enjoy this experience.
Mm-hmm. So, observing the experience, what has 2020 been like for you? What lessons? What challenges?
Well, it's funny because, so, you know, in the Facebook, I help support as LNC. So I was starting to type in there. I was like, yeah, this year's been really transformative. And then you were going in, and I was like, everything I was about to start typing, you kept saying. And I was like, okay, well, all of that. Breaking away the layers and uncovering what is really me and my authenticity. You know, I've had the opportunity to not be in aura with a lot of people. So it's like you're in your own energy. What does that feel like? Doing this work without all that interference, I suppose, it's kind of being able to catch what thoughts aren't correct. And, you know, there's been a lot of tears. There have been, you know, I've probably experienced too many to count dark nights of the soul in 1 year. You know what I mean? So it's like I've probably been 365 versions of myself. And that probably really started, you know, like in March. So I had a couple double, triple days going on. But I can also say, standing at this ending point, I'm reflecting back, and I feel more me than I've ever have before. And there's still things that I'm burning and moving through, but I'm actually moving through them. What might have, you know, I'll say sometimes what took me, you know, like an hour or a day might have taken me 2 days or 5 months, you know, maybe a year ago. So I'm trying to celebrate that. And I mean, I could be more specific, but honestly, it's like every day there have been a cajillion and one plus a cherry on top things to help me, assist me in this grand goal of being authentic.
Yes, indeed. I don't want to move that over here. It's funny because you know, one of the things I was thinking about is you know, I find that I'm surrounded by a lot of people. Speaking surrounded by a lot of people. John Stringer, he's in the Being You podcast page, Instagram account. And he said, "Sup, Leslie and Ade." He just came in. Hey, John.
Sup, John.
I'm surrounded by people who see, words they're interesting, right? Because they can mean different things for different people. And that's why I'm kind of like really being particular about what I say now. Because I don't want, so this is without thinking about it, I would just say I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are doing the work. Because then that implies that the other people are not doing the work. I don't know who's doing the work. Sometimes the people I think are doing the work ain't doing the work. They just maybe they're just good at pretending they're doing the work. But what is the work? But I'm saying that the work, like when we commit to our own personal growth and transformation, and really recognizing that what is happening is a reflection of our own consciousness, and there is something where we can learn from it. There's some things that we need to really face and not pretend away. So as someone who I know is doing the work, how has the work you've done in the past helped you in navigating 2020?
I suppose what I would say, it just made everything, it kind of gave everything a buffer. You know, because on the one hand, I went through a lot of things that I was like, I thought I already grew through this. I thought this was done. Right? I mean, I know better, but like, I didn't think like this. But it was like, I was able to remember that I had tools, you know, I had tactics. I never felt completely blindsided. It might have taken me a while to recover, but I eventually would remember and tap into those things like this. Honestly, I would tell, you know, my friends, like, I feel like this is the year of everything we've been planning for. Like everything has been preparatory work, like all those years just to get us here. And it still got like rocky, you know, but again, like when I was saying, like I'm seeing people at least moving through these emotions and not holding on, and being able to release what's no longer serving, whether begrudgingly or not. I mean, we were kind of
Right.
forced to, right?
Mhm.
So seeing that happen, and then in that state of surrendering, the trust that inevitably develops, and a bit of like supernatural magic and ease and flow through life, in spite of what it might look like by appearances.
Mm-hmm. So true. I mean, definitely this time is rough for some of us, but it is, for me, I see it as an answered prayer. And some people were like, how the hell could you say this is an answered prayer? It is. John saying, yep, this is the now we've been planning for. This is systems are dying, are crumbling. Systems that were based on falseness. Systems that were based on, that were built out of oppressing another. It's all crumbling. And speaking of which, there was a comment somewhere, and I'm glad you grabbed it. Russell said 2020, in 2020, more Americans got off their sofas and voted to save our democracy than ever before. MAGA, make America great again. In truth, America has never been great and will never be great until all of its citizens are included in the statement, we the people. That's definitely some things that have come up where we've had to face it. And some people are running from it, some people denying it, and some people are like, yes, we must face it. We're recognizing this oneness thing. It's not just the woo-woo thing, we are one. It's easy to run to we are one because then you don't have to do the human work, the work of what it means, the pain, the growth, the expansion. But if for those, I say, you know, when we believe that we're one, we're challenging ourselves to be with one another differently. Because you can't tell me you're one, but then you're full of judgment for the one that you say you're one with. And if you are thinking, projecting judgmental thoughts onto another, first of all, they probably don't even know what you're thinking. And second of all, maybe first of all, you are the one thinking the thought. So the thoughts that you're thinking is having an impact on you, on your immune system, on the way you see the world. So you're trying to protect yourself from not being judged by another based on the way you're judging another. So when we forgive ourselves, we're setting ourselves free. Didn't say in the Bible that the same way you judge, the way you judge will be used to judge you. You're the one doing the judging. You know, when there is a broader perspective at looking at challenges, I find that it could be liberating and enlightening. Doesn't mean we don't feel the pain. Doesn't mean we don't feel the struggle. That's all part of it. If you see a mother giving birth, it looks pretty painful. Actually, if you don't know what's happening, you think the woman is dying. If you can just see her screaming and people around her like, oh my God, it looks like she's dying. But when you get close and find out what's wrong with her, and she's giving birth, it's like, oh, okay, she's giving birth. It's painful, it's hard, it's difficult, it's messy. And sometimes the mother will be like, I can't do this. And we feel like we can't do this. I want to say something about death, but I won't say it now. So let's talk about, I know that what an interesting segue, actually. Well, but actually come to think about it, it's not a bad one talking about birth and go to death. I wasn't, yeah, okay, that was the voice.
Technically.
It is. So I've been talking about us reflecting on the shows from the past, and you've had some time to really sit with it. I think sometimes I'm too close to the shows that I don't always get the view that other people see because I'm part of it. So I'm like, yeah, that was a great show. Or sometimes I might be even critical of the show. But other people who are not in my mind, in my head, saying, this is the best show you've ever done, or I needed to hear what you said, or the guest really changed my life, or whatever the case may be. So you were sharing with me today about the show. So you want to kind of just take us on a journey, what you got from the shows that's been done this year as we step back and have hindsight in 2020.
Sure, yeah. So while taking a look at the list of just the names and you know, being blessed to be a part of these last few episodes, when I'm thinking, you know, initially I was like, yeah, they're all about being you, ha ha ha. But yeah. It's what I pick up is there's a lot of aspects of healing our ancestry and remembering. You know, you had said something about that, I think a couple episodes ago, about like it's this remembering of ourselves. Like we are already complete and whole, like there, but we're bringing these bits and pieces of us back. And what all does that kind of entail? We are here as a result of the path that lies behind us, right? I mean, we're here
Mhm.
as the success of all those folks surviving many trials and things. And
Or
then
maybe, or
too,
is it the path before us because they came before us, so they came first?
that's yeah, I was just about to say that was something you had said too that I like never thought about, as far as like, well, what about, you know, our ancestors before us? And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, now I know that I am a future ancestor, but like, wow, when you think about it like that, and then there's no time and just what all that sort of means, like,
Mhm.
but at the heart of it, right, like this is all still coming back to healing, right? Like those traumas that we're carrying through with us through generations that are in our cellular memory, that are part of our race, our gender, just all of these judgments, even as you were talking before about having these thoughts, you know, and I think, and thinking, right? And it's like all of this information is to come back to being you, is kind of like to not even get caught up in those thoughts, but remembering where you came from, where you're going, and what all of this means all together. And as we're healing all of that stuff, all of the healing is all the healing in the thoughts. It's just all of these negative beliefs and stories and lies and yada, yada, yada. But at the heart of it, there is great power. I'm just looking at some of these titles, you know, the courage to heal, generational trauma, you know, navigating through troubled times. It seems like there's, you know, that's kind of a constant. There's troubled times in the past, troubled times to be, and we're the survivors, the warriors who are still here and going forth, and what all that means. So I can ramble on more, but that's generally what I'm feeling. That was like, yeah, this is what it means being you, transformation through bringing back all that is actually you.
Yeah. And you know what you were saying earlier, because you did say that. I thought it was funny. Well, what's the common theme? Well, it's about being you. and, and John said, "Woohoo!" Okay, I said that already. What's going on over here with the comments? Something is happening. I don't know what this is. Okay, something weird is happening. But anyway, won't worry about that. You know, we're talking about this is the moment that we've been waiting for, praying for, affirming for. And for some people, it's like, how can this be the moment? How can this be the moment? It's like we're moving from 3D to 5D. We're moving where the veils are thinner, so much so that you might feel like there is no veil. Things happen, has been happening for me that's just fast. It's fast. And some of us, I won't go there yet. Things are happening so fast that if we are not doing the work and remember that we are part of a continuum, you know, as you were talking about the theme that you saw, our ancestors, there were people who have lived this life before us, and their life, their thought, their wisdom lives in us, and we can always pull on that. And you know, actually, I've only had one person which I thought was surprising. We talked about ancestors. We're talking about ancestors, and they said, "Well, some of us have no connection to ancestors." Like what? And to be quite frank, it was a black person, which even double blew me away. Because what I find in my experience, black people generally would acknowledge ancestors on one level or another. Um, in my journey, I've heard white people say, "Well, I don't have ancestors," but that's different now. People are beginning to have the conversation to just recognize and realize that we're part of something more. And the more we realize that we are the thought, the answered prayer of those who came before us, that shifts things. So we get to carry forward their dreams, their vision. And for me, that just makes me feel liberated. You know, it gives me permission to breathe in and out and just relax, because life itself is continuous. I want to say something else, but I know you got something to say. I know you do. And I can feel you say, okay, this is his show. He's going to kick me back out later, but no, express yourself.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I was just thinking, you know, I didn't have a very strong connection with ancestor, you know, work early on or when I was younger, but I also have a different understanding of like that, if you're already following kind of what you're saying before, the idea that we're all one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it expands this idea of ancestors, that the earth is your ancestor, that the planet,
Yes.
and then when you're looking at things as that sacred, of course, you're going to hold everything a little more special, a little more dear. I just think, and we're all one. So be you, but be one.
I just pulled up the the shows that I've done this year, and I'm looking at the unattached attachment. Like that's one show that I was happy to do, and now it's like, don't nobody go listen to that because it's funny enough. It was at the beginning of, I didn't know it was that early though. It was at the beginning of the year, January. I uploaded it onto the podcast January 14th, but it was a time where I just had enough. I've had enough with myself. I've had enough with just even judging what I do based on what it looks like to other people and trying to mold myself to fit other people's expectations of me. Woo! It's funny that I'm talking about a show that I don't want people to listen to. Because now that I'm talking about it, that's like telling people to go listen to it. But I went off. And I think we need that, right? We need spaces. Give ourselves that permission to vent, to be mad, and not always feel like we have to be like peaceful and quiet. What do you think about that?
Well, I think, yes, no, I would say that's probably something that came to I learned this year, that's okay. I know definitely in the spiritual new age, community, right? It's all love and light. Everything's a reflection of myself. And, I'm seeing this in me. I think it's about expanding a lot of what that means and looking at that a little bit differently. Just because, yes, you're a reflection of me, we're one, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have that behavior or there's different ways to look at it. So it's allowed me to expand in that sense, I think I lost it.
Well, it's funny because I call myself, one of my nicknames is the shift starer. Right. Because we're one with everything. It's a good concept until what we're seeing don't look good or smell good. Then we're not one with it. But you caught a thought just now. I want you to verbalize it because you talk with your face too.
It's a thing I just forgot about. What I just forgot about, having space to be human, right? Like that's what I was gonna say. It's like we get all into the love and the light and the glue and all of that, and yes, that's a major part of it. And we are human. We are here to experience the emotions, the pains of the birthings, so that the exalted, awesome stuff is that much sweeter. We compare, we contrast. It's allows us to, right? It's the guidance system to get us into our space so that we can be in the flow and allow and be like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. But just having that space to be human, that it's okay to not want certain things. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say yes. It's all okay. Whatever you're feeling, it's you, and that's okay. But just be that and express that to the best of your ability.
Yeah,
so that's what I think to
I
that.
like that because what it brings up for me is this idea. Sometimes, especially, I think a spiritual journey, a spiritual path. And for listeners, once again, if you want to add your 2 cents, your 5 cents, your 50 cents, or whatever cents, dollars, pounds, or whatever you have, P's, 1p, 2p, 3p. Those of you who are not in America are like, what was he talking about? If you want to add it, you can let us know. Send a message. Or can you just put a message in the chat room? Ellen C, aka Leslie, will send you the link so you can come in and join the conversation. But for me, I think one of the best gifts of a spiritual, when we're doing the work, when we are investing in ourselves, is being able to hold a space of love and compassion when we say yes, when we really mean to say no. Sometimes we say, well, if you say yes and that's what you mean, then just stand by. You don't have to apologize for your yes or your no. But sometimes we may have made an announcement that we are always going to say no to something that doesn't align. But we don't know what's going to happen. The influence around us have us saying yes sometimes when we really want to say no. Can I still hold and embrace myself? So let's talk about forgiveness, and then I'm going to let you go to the back. You're like, let me go back to my happy place.
Just doing my producer thing.
I know. I understand. It's kind of hard. Oh, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Yeah. So forgiveness, how important is it, especially in this kind of time that we're living in?
Oh, not at all. Yeah, no, it's everything. It's everything. Because I feel like that's the next step. You know, there's that whole acceptance is this or the awareness is part of the battle. But then there's this tendency that once you see that, to dive down this dark hole of like, woe is me. Why didn't I see that? I should be so much better, right? Like, stop shitting on yourself. We did the best that we could in the moments that with what we knew. And, you know, it's just that whole know better, do better. And it's so much easier to say. And I think, you know, of course, I think forgiveness of others is very important. And when you see everyone as sacred and connected and whole, I think that comes, you know, kind of goes hand in hand, which I suspect is like your audience is primarily like on that level. The forgiveness of self, forgiveness of ourselves for where, you know, where maybe, and then too, when you know something and then you kind of fall back and like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Back to that whole shoulding thing, you know? And it's like, oh, it's so important. I think that grace for self is like probably a major foundation for like any of this work going forward.
Grace moving forward. So what one thing have you learned from 2020 that you would like to leave with listeners for 2021?
Be here now. Be present in every moment. Like when you're doing that and watching your thoughts, is that really your thought? Is that something to attach to? Is that connect with you? Maybe just constantly asking yourself, is that really my feeling? Is that really my thought? Just checking in with ourselves more and really listening to our voice.
Yeah. Listen to your voice. Well, I know you're popping back to the back. Thank you, Leslie, for all you do. I appreciate it. I appreciate all that you bring, your mind, just the way you look at things. You know, you came on here like the first time I was training you with StreamYard, and you're like, well, you see that dot over there? You know, you can click that. I'm like, oh, I've never even looked at that. You know, there's different things that you've added to the show that has been very helpful. And just your caring nature, your willingness to help. And like last night when I was telling you, like, wait, you were saying something, you didn't make a request or anything, but I just want to know, do you want to do something with that? And you're like, let's do it. Let's list the name of the show. So I am grateful for you. Having you, sounds like this is the last time, but this is the last live show we're doing for 2020. We're going to have shows coming for the rest of actually, I didn't say that earlier, but you know, for this year, this is a live, well, as far as I know anyway, things can change. Something can happen. I got all my equipment here. I just jump on. But right now, the next show will be, I think, the first Tuesday in January, which is that the 5th of January, I think. I think it is. I know. I like how you're just kind of like, well, I don't know. Let me pull it up, but let me look like a yeah, I put people on the spot. But no, I'm grateful for you, and you have definitely been a great addition to the show, and just my work in other ways that you're helping me. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I want to go into a whole thing of how amazing you are, but I know you know, and your audience loves you. I love this. I'm so excited. I'll see you guys in the back. I'll share off camera. Okay. Thank you, though. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Leslie. Yes, this show is the last live show this year, 2020. And next Tuesday, well, I think we've got 2 more Tuesdays to go, I think. Let's see. Yeah. There'll be shows that won't be live unless something happens where I got to come on live. But, you know, it's actually good for me to take some time off. It ain't really going to be. Well, it's kind of off because I won't be doing a live show, and the things that will be broadcasted already packaged already. But for me, I'm always kind of like doing something on a daily basis, which kind of leads me to something that I've shared many times, I've been sharing for a long time, the importance of rest. And especially taking time to rest when it looks like you don't have time to rest. Because life is calling on us from different places, from family, from friends, from work, on Zoom, on the news, through politics. And I love you too, John. And John, if you want to add something, let us know. Leslie will share the link with you. And that goes for all the other listeners. If you want to share your journey, what you've learned, maybe where you are, you're just like, fuck this shit. I can't deal with this years. And you guys talking about high vibration and loving oneself and being gentle. Y'all get on my nerves. If that's what you're feeling, and you can express it from a place of where you're owning your stuff, then yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to, join the conversation and share your story, because in sharing your story is where healing happens. Healing happens when we share our stories. In the Western world, we sort of like to keep things to ourselves. We want to keep up with the Joneses, keep up with the appearances. And we don't want people to know what we're dealing with, what we're going through. Yes, John, I said that. what we're going through, so we don't talk about it. And then, I'm working on not phrasing it this way, but maybe this is the last time or not. Like, even in the spiritual community, we sort of want to give an impression that we're so grounded, so aligned, and we are. And because we're so grounded, we're so aligned, it actually allows us to feel more, to recognize things when they're not going right, when they're out of sync, when you're experiencing lower vibration, rather than feeling like because things appear like they're not going right, or you find yourself judging yourself, or you do something that's not working out, that there's something wrong with you. The more you do the work, the more aware you become, the more aware you become. So rather than looking at what's happening in your life and feeling like, I can't believe I'm still going with this, I so get it. Leslie was saying that earlier. Like, I asked myself, I've shared this many times, finances has been one of my greatest teachers. And I feel like, we've gotten to a place where, I've been writing my dissertation and they're just like, not good enough, just red lines, and I have to go back and work on my theses. And I feel like now I'm finally turning the corner. And there are things happening in my life right now that, to tell you the truth, there's a part of me, there's great things that are happening. And there's a part of me that's like, damn, why couldn't this have happened 10 years ago? And around age, I never used to think about my age until I was close to 50. And it started when it was what I called 3 from 50. My goodness, I don't even know where the thoughts were coming from. I was scared. I was nervous. I was feeling like I'm dying. I'm like, I'm 3 from 50. I'm 3 from 50. And when you have thoughts that, when you're thinking thoughts that you really believe they're thinking you and you're not thinking it, if you can catch that, those thoughts were thinking me. I can tell you that I felt like I wasn't thinking the thoughts. I'm 3 from 50. And I was sad. And the beauty of it, because life, God, the universe, the divine intelligence, whatever you want to call it, always got your back. Always got your back. And it was around the time where I was doing a show on Blog Talk Radio as Life Conversations Radio using Blog Talk Radio platform. And I think it was once a month, I would have a group of brothers join me. And we used to call it, I can't remember now. It was right there. But actually, if I do this, I might find it. No, I'm not going to do that. It's going to throw me off. But anyway, because it's not that important. But it was 5 of us. It was Joe, Don Wolf, Stanley, Carl Studner, and who was the other person? There was one more person. Joe. I don't know. Maybe that was 4 of them. But anyway, there was about 5 of us. And we will talk about spirituality. We'll talk about life from a man's perspective, a brother's perspective. And Interesting enough, there was two of them were white and the other two were black. And so the conversation was always diverse and the experience, and it was so transformative. On this day, I think it was the day, maybe 2 days after my birthday, or maybe it was few days before my birthday when I was really tripping. And usually when I start the show, I used to have a question that I asked them, but it evolved where I just invite them in. Hey, Joe, how are you doing? So what is bubbling up for you today? And Joe will share his story. Don Wolf, what's bubbling up for you today? He'll share his story. Kyle Studner, Stanley, what would you share? Stanley Adagabe, but his last name is right there, but I can't pull it back. And they would just share what's happening, and the show would just kind of form itself. And by the time we finish, we're all feeling like, ooh, vibrating. Without needing a vibrator. I couldn't resist. That was right there. There's an internal vibrator. And if you can allow yourself to go there, you'll connect with some things about yourself that you didn't even know was possible. And I invite you to connect with your sexual energy. It is your healing energy, and it's one energy that I don't know if it's one, but it's the only energy that is our human energy, our sexual energy. I digress. I'll come back to that later, or not. I don't know. So this day, I just asked them, I said, what's bubbling up for you? And I think Joe was the first one to talk about him being with his nephews and nieces and cousins and feeling like an old man, always feeling like he had to give some wisdom. And he had some thoughts about maybe his nieces and nephews were judgmental of him, always bringing the wise words. And we're just kind of not struggling with it, being with that and just looking at it. Then I reached out, I think it was Stanley. Stanley told us about, he was watching his grandson while his son was in the hospital. And Stanley was saying, really stepping into and recognizing that he's a grandfather and 3 generations. And he was talking about things about, growing up. And then I think I went to Don Wolf, and he talked about what's bubbling up for you, was around age and getting older. And as I'm listening to them inside, I'm like, oh, God, you are flipping hilarious. I mean, come on. We didn't plan this. They just start talking about age, getting older. And I remember telling them, I said, I'm 3 from 50. And they're like, you're a young buck. Because I think the youngest of them was probably, who just happened? Oh, good. John wants to jump in the conversation. Great. The youngest was probably, I think they're either late. I think the youngest probably late 50s. But anyway, they're older than me. And I told them, I'm 47, turning 50. And they're like, you're young. When people tell you that doesn't mean nothing. I don't care if you tell me I'm young. If I feel like I'm getting old, you telling me I'm young or age is just a number, that don't mean crap. What I'm feeling feels real to me. So anyway, as I kept talking and sharing with them and we're going back and forth, what happened, what I saw was in the conversation was, in my mind, somewhere I had a thought, a belief that I was getting older, because I love working with young people and younger children. I just love being around them. I don't know where the thought came from, but the thought was basically I was afraid that I would no longer be relevant. That people would look at me and say, oh, that old man, young people don't listen to me anymore. And when it came up, it brought me to tears. And I didn't know. I didn't know I was thinking that thought. And we do carry that with us sometimes. There are thoughts that's passed down to us that we don't even know. But as we continue to do the cleaning out and doing the work, I pray that you are a space and a place for the belief to rise up and be released. And I also pray and affirm that you're in a community that can support you, because sometimes it is challenging. This thing called life is not for wimps. And the spiritual path is for gladiators. And, your ability to look is much more important than evaluating what you're going through. Just being able to look at what you're going through with eyes of compassion, eyes of understanding. I got my brother in the green room. He's eating some popcorn now. And I'm going to bring him in while he's still And I'm going to say this. John shared something today in a group that we're in that I thought is quite powerful. And John, I'm saying this not to necessarily lead you in. Let me bring you in anyway. Not to lead this be your thing, but I'm just feeling it because you said we're being invited out. No, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like we're being invited out of the fight, from the fight into the light. And when I heard it, I was like, oh, I felt that. And I do believe that we're being invited out of the fight, the political fight, the masculine and feminine fight, the racial fight, the financial fight, the emotional fight, the mental fight, all the fight that we get ourselves into. We are in a time where life is like, come on, it can be different. Come into the light and be light, be easy, be gentle. That's where freedom, that's where liberation is. Anyway, my friend John Stringer, his song is what we use every time when we start the show. Sometimes we end with the song, johnstringer.com, johnstringerinc.com. And he's a shy guy. He doesn't always have a lot to say. So I feel very special that he's willing to put himself on the spot and see if he has something to say. How are you doing, my brother?
Doing awesome, man. Hey, I'm honored to be. I didn't know this was your last show of the
live
year,
show.
Man. Live show, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm honored to be.
Putting nothing out there that don't need to be out there.
I was so glad to catch you and Leslie, man. I love y'all both. I was like, y'all, this is dope. I caught it. So I've been batting 100 for the last couple of shows, man. I'm catching them now. I'm like, I don't know how I'm missing them. I'm like, man, I got to catch these. So it's been awesome, man. Be good to see you doing your thing too, bro. And I just wanted to say kudos to you too for expanding the way you have, stepping into your power. Been watching, been seeing, been what do you call it? A wingman along the way at parts of the times, and getting to see what you do, and just seeing you step into your power in a new way, bro. I mean, really, kudos to you for owning your power and really saying yes to being powerful, to showing up as a light, to doing the work in a whole new way, on a whole new level. I love it, bro. So enjoying catching it too, man.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, good. I appreciate it. Man. So many thoughts comes up for me, and just some of the things that that I've been dealing with in the last few weeks, and just how life is always calls us up and out. And the thing that popped in my head I just shared, but I don't know if I'm going to have a long talk about it because it just popped up. It's like when you talk about stepping into your power, what popped in my head is the recent revelation that I see, just the spirit voice telling me you got to break away from defining yourself based on how you think people are seeing you or how you think people want to see you. And true freedom is to be able to do what you want to do according to your own agenda, really, your inner authority. Like, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do the show. This is what I want to write. And it's not necessarily a new insight, but it's it hit me in a different way. Like, yeah, there are times I do things and worry a lot more about what people are thinking about what I'm doing. And, I think last week when I was with Ricky, I was sharing that how there were times I get so concerned about how many people are listening and wanting people to listen and thinking, how can I get more people to listen? Maybe I need to go get some of the people that are known internationally, the big names. And I thought of Michael Bernard Beckwith, and, that was all ego stuff because I'm trying to get numbers, but it ain't even about that. And the reminder was like, no, I really appreciate the fact that I reach out to people that sometimes people don't know who they are. They've never heard of them before. Because for me, I really believe this thing called spirituality needs to be integrated, and we can see it expressing everybody in every color, in every race, from a child to an elder. And it's not just, there are those spiritual teachers that are elevated and they got their own spiritual centers. Like, we need to bring it down that sometimes we don't hear about their stuff because we're not that close to them. They're going through life too. So for me, it's like that has been also helpful because I'm close to some of those people that the world knows. And I get to see, wow, they're going through similar thing that I'm going through. And so that new way of seeing myself and freeing myself, it's just, I'm grateful. And go ahead. No,
I was
no.
just gonna say, it seems like for me, what has helped catapult you from my vision and knowing you and hearing what's been going on, the shift has been you doing exactly what you're talking about, embracing that freedom through your practice, through the things you've been doing, through what you've been letting go, freeing yourself up so you can embrace that, authentic call to even the authentic call that sometimes scares you and makes you uncomfortable, to take on, to say yes to stuff that's stretching you beyond what you might have wanted to do. It's like, but I'm seeing you, watching you take that on, but it's not like you're taking on and stretching yourself, or at least from my perspective, what you've been sharing, it sounds to me, and you can answer this, is it that you are hearing and answering the call and it's expanding you and having you take on new responsibilities? Or do you feel like maybe the ego is getting in the way and having you balance too many things? I'll tell you, from my perspective, it feels like you're saying yes to the things Spirit is calling you to do, and it's stretching you. You know what I'm saying? But you tell me.
Yes. Oh, most definitely. Spirit's definitely. I'm telling you, I don't know if I can say I'm doing more than I've ever done. But what I recognize is there's so many opportunities to come in my way that is inspired by me, other people bringing it to me. And I had to really get clear that I need to expand my capacity rather than say, oh my God, yes, I'm feeling to move along and do this and say yes to this, but I don't have the time. But to change that construct about how I'm looking at time, and there were times where I'm feeling like I'm supposed to do this. I got to do it within a certain time. And that was whooping my ass. And I had to stop. So what is really going on here? And this is recent too. One of the things that happened, the answer was yes, expand your capacity because there's more being called from you, of you, through you. But as you expand, the spirit voice talking to me, as you expand your capacity, it doesn't mean you constantly keep filling it with stuff. Sometimes you're going to have to say no. Yeah. And that no to someone is a sacred yes to the bigger vision. So that's been one in recent. I'm like, okay, got it. Because I was expanding my capacity and working with my relationship with time. But it just kept feeling like, oh, I'm drowning here. It's not supposed to feel like this. There's something that's misaligned. So now I'm in a place where I'm saying, okay, well, I don't think I can do that. Or let's talk. I want to talk to you. Well, can we use WhatsApp? In fact, can we just use voice note? So you leave a message, tell me what you want. I can send you a voice note back. And then it's freeing. As opposed to feeling like I have to answer or reply every call. And most people that I know, we're doing the work. We're storytellers. We have a lot to say about a lot of things. I end up being on the phone for an hour, 2 hours. I'm like, I got shit to do. I gotta go. So to everything go through that, some people I just say, send me a voice note. And then when we can talk, we'll talk. Yeah. But yeah, so ultimately I'm in a place of surrender.
That's beautiful, bro.
Surrender. Yeah.
I can, two things you said, freedom being one of them and saying no. So on the idea of freedom, it's funny. This morning I downloaded doing a talk at the end of the December online for Unity Birmingham, right? And the name of it is Freedom to Be Who You Came to Be. Real simple, right? But it's that the concept is simple, but it's a lot of what you talked about. Yeah. One, that saying yes to the things that we are here to be, and getting clear enough to know what that is. Yes. Sometimes that's what people are striving and yearning for, and our souls are yearning for us to stop and take the time to really tap into what is that we came here to be. And I know you've been doing that, or at least from my perspective. I won't make that assumption, but that's what it seems like. And then secondly, saying no to the things that are distractions.
Yes.
That mission, that calling. And I feel like the pandemic, as many of us have acknowledged, has helped a lot of us eliminate distractions early on. Yes. And then we got back into the flow of things, right? Right. And then, so it's really like, okay, can we stay with that clarity of what am I here to be doing now that's essential? to my soul and say yes to that and no to the things that pull us off of it. And then you mentioned another thing, rest. So I'm gonna echo that too, bro. Giving ourselves, I like to say R&R. You know how they talk about getting that your R&R on, rest, relaxation, but also doing the things we love, making sure we have time for that to feed our souls, the things we love too, where it's just rejuvenating. It's resting. It's enjoying. Every day I do that for myself. You see me sometimes. I have grandfather tobacco, my cigar on the porch, just enjoying myself. I take time every day in some way, whether it's a video game, I'm playing with my son. Every day, give that to myself. But why not? You know what I'm saying?
Why not?
Why not? Yes, give, yes, serve, and receive. Take time to give to yourself and love yourself every day. Why not? You know, so that's I echo a lot of the things you talk about, man. The rest too. I love the rest.
I'm with you, man. And I haven't actually been opting. What's funny, anyway, I won't go too much into that because I want to ask you a question. And I think there's also a season, because that's one thing that I've allowed myself with my body during the day, and I feel like I need to take a nap. I've gotten to a place now where I can just do it.
Nice.
In the past, there's all these stories and judgment about why you're taking a nap. Other people are busy working, like that means anything. But somehow I convinced myself at that time that it was something important to take on. Like, well, you know, we'll be taking a nap during the day. That means laziness. Well, when else you want to take a nap? When you're sleeping at night? You know, that's the whole idea. But now I've gotten to a place where I can take a nap. I can listen to my body and say, yeah, I need to stop. And it's one, I don't know if I can call it a great secret, but in resting, taking a nap, playing, whatever we're doing to just dial it back. I don't want to say it's more powerful, but it is just as powerful as doing the spiritual work. Resting itself is a spiritual practice, because when we allow ourselves to stop and just play and not have something that we really must do or trying to figure out, we actually give ourselves permission to hear guidance. We give ourselves the opportunity to integrate the book that we read that opened up our heart. It's like, just that moment to just be still. So it could be going for a walk in the forest. I like forest.
Bingo.
The forest is for rest. It's in the word. The forest is a place you go to rest. So if you don't know how to rest, go to the forest, because that's what it's for. You know, taking a nap, playing with your child, all this other stuff. But in the Western world, I don't want to say but I said it and I'll say it again. It's always like we have to stay in motion, and we've been forced to sit still. I want to acknowledge my dear sister on YouTube, Michelle. She said, good morning, beloveds. Thank you so much for this. You're most welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here and listening. Kathy's in here too. She shared earlier. Thank you, Kathy. I caught that while I was talking, because I can multitask. I'm one of those few men who can multitask. And she said, Ade, she even said my whole name. I guess she tagged me. You're moving people with your truth. Thank you very much. She also said, Kathy is John's partner. What am I here to do that is essential to my soul? Woo! Ain't that the truth? Wake up every morning and ask yourself that question. What am I here to do that is essential to my soul? And when you get an answer, send a tithe to Kathy, because she inspired it. So, John, you know, as we're wrapping up this year, and we're doing a review. So we're looking back, we're looking at it, we're using hindsight in 2020, not waiting till next year to look back, but we're really looking back and collecting. What are some of the lessons, what about some of the challenges you've gone through in this year that may be unique to this year, or maybe isn't? And what are the lessons and the wisdom that you've gained through this collective global transformation, really?
Two things come up immediately: transcending suffering and our power to create. So transcending suffering for me was a huge lesson. Broke my ankle 3 places in end of June, had surgery July 14th, was on the couch for 2.5 months healing. In that first period, Kathy got video of me. it was like I was having labor pains for 8 hours straight, bro. I was on the couch just writhing, moaning, chanting, crying, praying, doing every spiritual practice I know. And I hit that window where I
But while you were having that pain, you were using a painkiller, right?
trying, but
what do you mean try? You tried to use a painkiller?
When they prescribed it, they told me take it every 8 hours. At the end, when it wore off, I had to wait another 8 hours. And that's during that time where I was writhing, right? Later, I went back because after a couple of days of that, I was like, look, this stuff ain't working. They told me, oh no, you can take it. You can take it sooner than that. But when they first gave it to me, they said 8 hours. I didn't. So, I was following directions. Man, I was in the most pain I've ever been in. It was overwhelming. I mean, I literally, like 4 hours through, I'm sweating and praying, and I'm like, Source, you got to help me. I don't know if I can take this. That's how I felt. I'm like, I just can't take it. I can't wait. I don't know what to do. I'm just doing everything I can, bro. And finally, I was just like, I'm just gonna let spirit come through and say whatever needs to be said, because I don't know what else to do. I just let go and let spirit come through. And for probably a good half an hour, the pain was still there, and I transcended the suffering, and I was fine. It was like I was in the best peace, even though I still felt the same pain, but it was no longer overwhelming, and I was just allowing spirit to guide, and I kept my eyes focused on that, kept my attention focused on that alignment, and letting it do what it needed to do, and just let it take over, right? That power within us. And I transcended the pain. The pain did not go away. That's so important. The pain didn't go away. The suffering went away. So that to me was such a beautiful teacher to help me to show even the most overwhelming pain I've ever experienced in my life, I can transcend the suffering in. I didn't know that. Had I not experienced that, I wouldn't know. And so it gave me appreciation for and compassion for those who do go through things like suffer with chronic pain. But two, gave me so much more appreciation for our power. Like now I know, oh yes, no matter what pain you go through, you can transcend it without having to make the pain go away.
Let's talk about transcend, because somebody can say transcend. What do you mean? He said the pain was there. What does it mean transcend? What do you mean transcend the pain?
What I begin to notice, and this is something I've been experiencing for a while, choosing alignment in the midst of the sensation that is uncomfortable. Been doing that, practicing that for years. We do it on the couch sometimes, you and I talking, just allowing the emotions to come up that we normally resist, and letting go of the resistance and letting that emotion do what it knows to do, letting go of the story, the resistance, the judgment, and using presence or alignment to free ourselves from the suffering, right? Doesn't mean the emotion goes away. It means we experience it differently. Same thing with sensation when it comes to pain. Remember when I got this, I don't know if your viewers can see it. When I got this tattoo, this is my 11/11.
Well, you know what, John? Hold that thought, because I didn't want to interrupt your flow, right? I looked over, and right now showing that, I guess across all the platform, we have 11 people, and all the reactions are 11. And I saw 11 when you're talking about that before.
That's
you said, I said, no, I'm not going to interrupt the flow. And then you pointed to that. So I said, I got to point it out. Okay, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt that transcended experience.
That's all right. So that's my 11/11 tattoo. We got it on our daughter's birthday, our middle daughter's birthday, for her birthday, basically. She turned 18. Kathy got one and I got one. And I remember being in there and aligning as I was getting the tattoo to just experience the sensations. And I was doing pretty good, but my body started shaking. Like, one, it was real cold, but the sensation, it was like my body's natural response was, I would start shaking without being able to control it. And I was like, what is going on? I'm trying to relax and breathe, and it's just shaking. It's like, that's the natural physiological response.
So your body was like, you may be transcending this pain, but I feel this shit.
It's like, I'm going to do what I know to do.
Your body was going, ow. And you're like, it's okay, son. Like you're talking to yourself. Like you talk to yourself. It's okay. Breathe. Yeah.
And when I was talking to myself, I'm like, align, allow, let go. That's what I do, right? So what I noticed then, though, was there are going to be certain responses yet the quality of my thinking determined the quality of my experience. That's the law of
Yes.
choices. So if the
Yes.
quality of my thinking is victimization, suffering, or resistance in any way, it starts to create the suffering to the sensation and the experience. And so I create an experience matching that kind of thinking, right? If I'm able to let go and just be with it and just notice, and like I was even curious, like noticing what the feeling felt like and just exploring that high, it's almost like a high frequency sensation that feels like the feeling of cutting flesh when your flesh is getting cut. It's like this real high piercing feeling that I can remember now, like what it feels like. And but it was exploring it and being with it, being present with it, that took me out of the suffering and the resistance, right? So going back to the pain, when we're experiencing pain, it's almost a being with it. The transcendence I felt was letting go of the resistance to it. And really, when I think about it, it was a surrender to this power or this knowing that seemed to fix everything, meaning not the pain, but my thinking. It seemed to fix my focus on peace, even though the pain was still there, but it almost transformed the experience itself because of what was coming through and what I was placing my attention on. I just allowed that focus to come through, and the experience totally transformed, even though it was still the same thing. It was almost as if the pain was a dream that I was watching versus being stuck in it and going through it. It was just, it's hard. I don't know how to explain it better than that, but I can tell you, it reminds me of the scripture, be ye renewed by the transforming of your mind through that spiritual connection, through that, some people call it the anointing. To me, it was just the allowing that knowing, that higher level of consciousness to come through and do the work, do the transforming of the experience. So that's probably the best way I could explain what it was like for me to opt out of suffering.
Opt out. Yeah. You know, as I listened to you, I thought of an experience that came back to me this morning, and I shared at the beginning of the show about how my thoughts, I realized I was attacking myself with my thoughts, and I had to do the work. I went to nature and it really grounded me. But one of the experiences that came to me today was I don't know if it's a year ago, but it got very clear to me that the energy of fear and excitement or passion is the same. The difference is the interpretation that I give it. So that energy rushes up in me when I'm on a roller coaster, and I'm like, oh shit, ah! And it feels horrible.
Right.
But then I could be driving a car and going fast because I love it, and it's like, oh, exhilarating. And I actually applied it. I don't know if it was on a roller coaster. I was having an experience that normally would make me be scared or worried or nervous, and I told myself that I'm going to think of this as if this is a great experience.
That's it.
And I start to say to myself, this is fun, this is exciting. And I was thinking that thought. So rather than, oh my God, it's going to drop, it's like, ooh, this is so much fun. And it was a different experience. So there are many ways to transcend. There are many things that we can find, but you're talking about energy. You know, when you went to someone cut into flesh, I was like, ooh, I don't know if I can go into this, is fun. But okay, you can do that. But the idea is, when we are in this place, if it's fear, if we can remember that, okay, the energy that is rushing through me right now that is making me feel fearful, I can change my thought about it and recognize the energy itself is neutral.
Bingo.
And I could imagine that this is the best experience that I've ever had. It helps if you're already doing the spiritual practice, or sometimes you may do it not even knowing, like, let me try it. Sometimes the first time you do it without even knowing how to do it is when it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But it's the constant thing we have to do in our minds. Go ahead.
No, that's so perfect, man. You just reminded me as well, exactly how you described it, emphasizes the law of choice, the law of choices. I tapped in and got this whole law of choices thing, but it's so simple. Exactly what I said before, and what you just said. The quality of our thinking determines the quality of our experience. Simple as that. So whatever the energy is, whatever the situation, whatever the present moment is, it's the quality of our thinking. And the quality of our thinking is determined by the level of consciousness we access.
That's right.
And if we've been conditioned to limit our thinking to a lower level of consciousness that believes in fear, separation, harm, etc., then the quality of our experience is going to match that level of thinking. If we can use our practices to expand our awareness and access higher levels of consciousness, then our experience begins to transform. And that renewal of the mind is renewing us to the state of our
original self, really.
Yes, original self, natural essence.
Yes.
When we access that inner presence, that inner connection to the source, we can actually allow that Holy Spirit, that source energy, that whatever that power is,
Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it,
higher consciousness, whatever it is, but we can surrender to that I am and allow it to begin to expand our awareness. So we untangle from that lower level of consciousness that is so conditioned and limited and so invested in belief and attachment to these erroneous misperceptions. When we begin to do that, suddenly we're freeing up and expanding our awareness to see infinite possibilities. That goes into the second thing I was telling you for this year, our power to create. What I've been, when at the beginning of the year, I shifted my consciousness by doing that same process, expanding my awareness out of the limited conditioned thinking of who I am and what I'm here to do. And I begin to step into millionaire consciousness. Well, I didn't hear millionaire consciousness. That's what I thought it meant. I heard step into being a millionaire. I was like, okay, I'm going to take on millionaire consciousness. So I limited it to that, right? And I began to do that work. And then I heard, no, we mean literally be a millionaire. Okay, that's different.
So, don't just be consciousness. Don't be in that. Be that as well as manifest it. Yeah.
Make it real. So I did the work in the consciousness, and I already acknowledge and accept myself as a millionaire and see that and feel that. And I am doing the inspired action to manifest or to create that. Now, the power of creation, those steps, when we have that clear intent and that vision, there's a process you were talking about, incubation. Remember how we were talking about giving ourselves rest, relaxation, fun, play? That's the incubation period. You go to Mozart, you go to several different inventors, Einstein. They all talk about their process of incubation. They've shared it in their creative process. Some of them, it's sleep. Literally, they use it. Edison, they use sleep. They use rest. Mozart would use walks through the park or rides through the park in nature to actually incubate the ideas and let the inspiration, we're going to call it marinate. Let it go, right? And then the illumination stage is next, or the inspiration stage where the idea comes through, like the general theory of relativity that came after a nap, from my understanding. Edison's ideas, like all these things we've heard of. Even what's the Beatle? The only living Beatle now, I think. What's his name?
What is it? Leslie, I know him, but
isn't that crazy? I cannot remember his name. That's so funny.
I can hear him. I can see his face.
Paul. Wait.
Yeah, Paul. Leslie.
Gosh.
What's the word?
Leslie. What's his name?
Everybody out there is telling us, right? They're telling us, but we can't hear it.
Anyway, y'all know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, y'all know who it is.
If I'm not mistaken, he received.
Oh, McCartney. Thank you,
McCartney. So McCartney, when he talks about the song Yesterday,
thanks, Leslie.
He received that like a download of inspiration yesterday. So a lot of times, what I'm getting at is our power to create. Once we start seeing how these cycles work, and we see how some of the most incredible geniuses of our time begin to understand that cycle of creativity, inspiration, we can actually use those cycles. And a big part of it is giving ourselves rest, the incubation period. But we start with the clear intention. We start with assessing what we want to do, taking in the information, creating that feedback loop so that our inner being, our subconscious, whatever you want to call it, can soak in that information, setting our clear intention, making the request, then incubating.
Yes.
For some people, incubation is as simple as just going within, resting our minds, getting out the way, and opening up.
Yeah.
And letting it come through. My incubation period is a lot more like that, right? But I still give myself that other time and then let the inspiration come. Lastly, our power to create includes the inspired action that we follow through on. It's one thing to get a great idea, but if you don't take action, if that song comes through and that melody comes through and you never push record or write the lyric, the song never comes into fruition in the third dimension. So bringing it through to the third dimension takes our actual action as well. Those are the biggest things this year: transcending pain, stepping into my power, and flowing with the cycles of creativity, I think have been coming through for me. And I've been getting new inspiration that's expanding me, just like you, bro. Like taking me to new heights of things I wouldn't have thought were mine to do, that I'm starting to hear, that actually feed my soul. It's like deep down, my soul really wants that. And then there's this other conditioned, limited, lower level of consciousness that's saying, me? Who, me?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, me? Yeah, right.
That's getting dismantled so I can expand it to, of course, me.
Indeed. And I want to say this: you being a musician, I don't want people to cancel you, because when you said it, I'm like, I think there's more than one that's alive. And Leslie said Ringo Starr is still alive too.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah,
My bad, Ringo. Hey,
Ringo. Let me not even say what it. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say that. See, in this process of creation, because you said a lot there, you talked about consciousness. You talk about the thoughts that we think, so we can think thoughts that are limiting or thoughts that are expanding, and our consciousness plays a role with the thoughts that we're able to access. And the choices we make is also determined by our consciousness. If we have a narrow way of looking at a situation, then we're going to make choices based on, oh my God, this is it. I got to do this now, or else it's not going to work out. But if we're dealing with a situation and we come to it from a place of expanded consciousness, we may just have the courage to say, I know I'm supposed to make a decision right now, but I'm just going to stop, because that's what I'm feeling. I need to know what is mine to do. That takes trust. It takes practice, because really in that moment when we reboot and come back to ourselves, everything realigns, rearranges itself. The universe conspires to bring about that thing that we're pregnant with. And when you talk about incubation process, the time it takes, maybe in the moment or taking a nap, making love with your beloved, because some people it comes while making love. Sometimes you can take that energy.
Shower.
Taking a shower. I can do a show on that. It's like what we need to remember, and I've been saying this because when it came to me, I was like, "Oof!" I remember the first time I said it. I think I was with a group of women, and I could see faces like, "Huh?" And the idea is the woman who gets pregnant is not the one that's going to give birth.
Okay.
I know. I like your curious look. You're like, okay, keep talking, my brother. I don't know where you're going with this, but keep talking. See, the woman who gets pregnant, her body is not the same when she's ready to give birth. Her mind is different. Psychologically, she's different. Emotionally, she's different. So that incubation process, whether it takes 9 months, 9 seconds, 9 minutes, a quick nap, or tuning in, we have to allow ourselves to be different. In order to download, to birth this new idea that we've made ourselves available for. Sometimes we're making ourselves available for the ideas and they come. And because the idea is so big, it touches parts of us, ideas and beliefs that has caused us to stay small. So the new idea comes in and squeezing out the old one, like, ooh, I'm afraid. No, I don't think I can do it. And the idea is like, oh, I guess you ain't ready. I'll wait here until you're ready. Wouldn't it be cool? I remember having that idea 6 months ago. Ooh, but you can't do it. Who are you? People are going to talk about you. But if the consciousness, if we're doing the conscious, if we know that we're ministers of consciousness and we're doing the work, we can allow ourselves to feel the fear, breathe in, get still, and allow the idea, the gift, that whatever it is that's coming in to actually support us in moving out the fear.
Yeah.
And the fear really is just a belief. It's an idea that we think, oh, who would I be if I allow myself to be a mother, a father? But when we judge ourselves, if we say, I don't know if I have what it takes to be a mother or father, let me use mother because we're talking about a woman giving birth. The woman who got pregnant obviously doesn't have what it takes to be a mother, but life is going to support her. And in that, getting still, doing the spiritual work, going for a walk, taking a nap. I know for me, taking a shower. When I sleep, I get so many ideas. Yeah. I go to bed asking for answers. What is it that I need to work on? What is what thought belief am I holding that's hindering me? What do I need to know? The questions varies from night to night.
Yeah.
And it comes clear as day in my dreams. So much so now that I don't even just call my dreams dream anymore. They're messages. Dreams are messages, but I'm having a different relationship with it. And we must be willing to expand, just like the woman's stomach expands.
That's it.
And we got to allow the discomfort where she's like, oh, this idea is expanding me.
It's about to I love that, man. And you know what's funny? It's the nutrition. It's the different things that she brings in that assist in the growth and the formation. I think for us, it's very similar. I remember studying, in fact, real quick plug, I'm going to be releasing a course called The Conscious Songwriting Genius Within You, right? And it's inspired by a guy named Jeffrey Williams, who gave me the rights to his work to distribute about the songwriting genius within you. And one of the things it talks about is in the study of genius, how when we select a thought, it's like the bandwidth, like you know how the EKGs can measure our thoughts and brain waves and all that. So it's not just happening in here, it's going out. Like you can measure those waves and it's doing stuff.
Yes.
So when we select a thought, there's a frequency and waves going out, and then it begins to attract similar thoughts like it. And we can use our awareness to begin to have those inspired ideas similar to the thought we've selected. Well, that's to me like an intention. An intention is that thought, that question, that inquiry, that selection, putting it into the universe to begin to activate ideas like that. And we begin to grow that idea, like you talked about the pregnancy, and call in those things that resonate or are harmonious with that, and then begin to build. Best practical example I can give is a song. As soon as I hit a note, I can sit down through practice now. I can sit down, hit a note, and begin to hear the inspiration of where that melody can go, and then hear chords around it, and then hear lyrics around it, all from just plucking a note, right? Yes. And all of a sudden, that little seed becomes impregnated, right? And it starts to grow and grow until a song is birthed. It's the full song. And that takes some work, some gestation, you know, but some selection and some action, but it grows and is complete. I feel like it's the same thing for the works we're here to share and do. First in consciousness, we do that work of selecting the intention or opening up or asking the question or activating the desire, becoming aware of the desire, whatever it is, and whatever practice we use to get there. It's then the making ourselves available. And like you said, eliminating the limited thinking that sabotages it, the fears, all that stuff, and then going with that energy and allowing that higher guidance to inspire us and direct us, and following through. That's so important, to follow through, man.
Yes.
That's what I'm learning and saying yes to for the end of this year and going into 2021. Because I'm saying it now. My what I'm hearing is to birth a new technology, not a spiritual technology, but an actual 3-dimensional technology that's like expansive for me, because I've never done anything quite to the degree I'm hearing to do it, but I'm claiming it.
That's it. And when we say yes to that idea, we got to take the step. When you talk about you strumming the guitar, the first one opens the door. I mean, I can relate to when I'm drumming, or sometimes there were times, not haven't happened in a long time, but I remember times where I have a topic, but I don't know what I want to say, but I'm feeling the guidance to just do the show. Spirit's like, you've been doing radio for how many years again? I'm like, yeah, I know, having this conversation, but I'm nervous. And the minute I go live and I open my mouth, it's a wrap. I've done shows where I had no idea, where I don't know what I'm going to say, what the topic is. And there was a time when I was on 1-2 radio and we used to take breaks. And then for the first 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes, I'm like, I don't have anything else to say. And I'm like, oh God. And the break comes up and I'm like, cool. And then we're going live and the producer's like, we're going live in 5, 4. And I'm like, oh shit. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Soul Food for Your Consciousness. I am blah, 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 blah. And then all this stuff comes from nowhere.
That's it, bro.
And then it's like, it's something we hook into. Yeah. The ideas that we're praying, the things, the prayers, the answers that we're looking for, the ideas that we want to download, it's already here. It's already being broadcast like a radio. There's a frequency. It's out there. The ideas, whatever you want, more money, better relationship, the perfect job, a new car, expanded consciousness, is out there. When we intend, he talks about intention. When we have an intention, I'm desiring to create a different relationship. A different relationship with my finances, with my beloved, with my romantic partner. We access it just like a radio. You change. Oh, I don't want to listen to jazz. I want to listen to R&B. I want to listen to gospel. It's there.
That's it. And we've been fooled, man. We've been conditioned to think we're separate from it. Often many of us have bought into that deception that we got to go get the degree. We got to go get the education. We got to go get something external to add to ourselves to be able to step into who we came to be. All those things are great and fine, but we're seeing they're temporal and just as subject to, being rendered useless as anything else. So many kids coming out of college wondering, wait a minute, y'all sold me this as the path and I can't find a job. And in fact, pandemic shifted everything. So we know many of the things we used to hold up as being so important in reality are being exposed as the temporal constructs that they are. They're not good or bad. They're just not the answer. The true answer is our consciousness and our connection to that deeper well of power. And when we're able to still ourselves, stop getting entangled in the whirlwind around us and come to center, get aligned, what happens is we begin to expand that awareness and we begin to do exactly that. Start to listen to the inspiration that can guide us, tapping into our own navigation, tapping into our own guidance. And it begins to tell us, yes, go get the degree, or no, you don't need that direction. Right. Now, some people, I don't know your listeners, but I've encountered some people that feel like, that's not possible for me. Yeah, somehow maybe you did it, or like my son. I don't know if I believe that. He's 11 now.
He would say so boldly too.
He's 11 now. He's like, I don't know about all that spiritual stuff y'all be talking. And I tell him, I'm like, look, man, it's like the person who's never tasted chocolate and we keep describing it to him. You got to do the work to experience it. Can't nobody give that to you. If you really want to know, you got to grab it, go find the chocolate and take a bite and taste of it. That's what our practices are for. If you really want to know what's accessible within you, you have to unwrap it. Unwrap yourself from the distractions of life that have you thinking this political outcome is the most important thing to your security, right? Unravel your mind from the entanglement and the misperception that anything outside of you controls your security, your safety, and your prosperity, and do what Jesus and so many others taught. Go into the kingdom of God within you and tap into that everlasting wellspring of life where abundance truly lies, and let that direct you. And what you begin to see is you've always had these abilities. You've always had connection to, you've just been ignoring it and it conditioned to think it was something else and been distracted. But in essence, these little glimpses, inspirations, desires, premonitions, symbols, all these different things that how your faculties work, when you expand your awareness, you begin to tap into that more subtle energy, that more subtle sense, and that awareness. You begin to notice there's a lot that has always been there for you and going on. And those of us who are fortunate enough to stop, connect, and tap in, start to see the infinite power. I'll give a quick practical example. One of the things I do is serve people by doing one-on-one sessions, right? March 15th, I did this beautiful session on my birthday. Actually, I gave a talk, then had one-on-one sessions afterwards. And when I sit, I just open up to that energy and align, and it brings me symbols. It brings me information for that person. I cannot tell you. I just did a guidance session with someone recently. Same thing, where first symbol I saw was an ankh, and I'm guided to ask them certain questions or what have you. But the beautiful thing is that was like the symbol for his main logo that he felt like was his life purpose to bring through. How am I supposed to know? In the limited incarnation of John, this personality, there ain't no way I should know that. In the reality of our interconnectedness and oneness, my awareness is infinite, and I can tap into all consciousness and bring through practical things. And you can, all of us can.
All of us.
But I don't control it as the I of this. The I am controls it. That I controls it, right? And I surrender to that greater sense of who I really am, all consciousness, and let it play me like a guitar or play me like a song, right? And that's when the magic happens. All of us can do that. And just being able to live that way is, I think, both the opportunity and the where the growth happens, like reminding myself of that each moment. It's easy to get distracted. I'm first to tell you, in the past, I've been very distracted. I'm getting so much better, and it's changing the quality of my experience.
I hear you, man. Michelle says, I want a session with John Stringer. Will you contact us? Well, check out John Stringer Inc.
Yes.
JohnStringerInc.com. And something Michelle said, I think Sailor said it as well. Michelle said, you know when you need to know because you've taken the time to rest. Exactly. Hello there, Miss 7 now. Is that the Miss 77 that has 77 now? Or is that 7? I don't know. It said Miss 7 now. So it's 7. Well, welcome to the conversation.
Welcome.
John and I, we're doing what we normally do when we get together. We didn't even plan this. Plainer said, yeah, we're having church. Just tap in now so that we can tune in to our true selves. Indeed. And it's right here. It's really not complicated. It's simple. We just make it complicated. And sometimes you may not have a modality and thinking, well, I wish I could do that. I don't know how to do that. Sometimes just your open heart is enough. Boom. Use me, show me what is mine to do. What am I to do? Lead me. I mean, God ain't complicated. We make it complicated. In fact, when you sit down to ask the question, it's an indicator that you're ready for the answer. Yeah. And just because you feel uncomfortable doesn't mean it wasn't for you. Okay. John, I know you want to say something real quick because I'm about to wrap up.
I was just going to say Beckwith calls it willingness. Amplifying that willingness.
Yes.
The willingness is part of the will. It's the choice to open up and surrender to that higher level of will, not the lower level limited, not my will, my limited will, but thy limitless will.
I like that. And in your willingness, when you download the idea and it comes and you're like, oh my God, this is making me feel uncomfortable. This is stretching me. This is taking me to places that I'm afraid to go normally. Then what you can do is, are you willing to allow the will of God to guide you? Are you willing to surrender? Because it happens in surrender. John and I will keep going. We always do this. We actually, every time you on the show, we usually go longer than we've ever.
Right. Gone. That's funny, man.
But anyway, my
I'm
brother.
honored to be here with you, bro. Love to chop it up with my brother, man. You know we got to do this.
Yes, we got to do this. We didn't even plan this conversation. Thank
Nope.
you, everyone, for being here. Yeah. Anything you just want to say, John, before we wrap it up? And if there's something you want to say, and it's a John, I would put you on main screen for a few seconds, and then I'll have to come back because I need to do some technical stuff. So either I could do it now, or you can say what you need to say.
It's brief. Only thing I wanted to say,
don't keep it brief. I need to take care of something real quick.
Okay, then
you just come in, keep going on, and I'll be right back.
I'll do that. So first, I'm just gonna say, my brother Ade, it has been so beautiful to watch your journey this year, to be able to connect with you, to be able to see you show up and transcend your own limitations and let them go. Everything we talked about, to be a demonstration of being this vessel, allowing yourself to say yes to even more and expanding and watching the I am in and as you expand your territory. That's what I'm loving, right? I remember when I heard you had Ricky Byers on again. I'm like, yes, I can't wait to see this and that y'all gonna be doing things together. I love Ricky. I love you. I love to see that co-creation. And then when I heard Leslie was your producer, I'm like, what? That's so dope. Love Leslie's energy and love how the universe is bringing things to support you in the way that you are showing up and everything that you're bringing. When we decide to say yes and listen to that divine inspiration that's calling on us, that fulfills our souls, we become the medicine the world is looking for, right? The light the world is yearning to see because we're fulfilling our soul. We become that inspiration. Marianne Williamson says it really well. She talks about our greatest fear. It's not that we're afraid to fail. It's that we're afraid to succeed and light other people up. And that's what I see my brother doing, succeeding and lighting other people up, letting go of the fear that tries to keep him from embracing his destiny, because the destiny's already done. It's just, do you want to experience it at the highest level or not? So I love seeing him take it to the next level and the next level. And I know it's just going to continue.
I kind of sense you've been talking about me behind my back and my face. But it feels good. Go ahead, talk about me, why don't you?
That's right.
And I heard you talk about Marianne Williamson. I want to read that. I think I'm going to wrap up the show with that because it's so powerful. I remember when I first heard it, man. Ooh wee! I mean,
Mandela is often attributed to have saying it in his.
He didn't say it.
He is not the author.
He's not the author. So just get your facts right. Anyway, let me not go down that path.
That's funny.
My brother, I'm gonna pull that up and I'm going to read it before. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for co-hosting with me. I appreciate you, man.
Indeed. Love you, man.
Love you too. Thank you, Kathy, for being here. Listeners, I want to read this. John just brought this up and I'm going to read it. Marianne Williamson, as we move into 2021, embody this, embrace it. Drink it up, make love with it. Literally, make love with it. Marianne Williamson's Our Deepest Fear. Our deepest fear is not that it. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I was like, they titled it differently. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, I love this. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence, as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. When you're liberated from your own fear, you've done your work for you. Like Sailor said earlier, you're connecting with your higher self, your guides, your angels, your ancestors, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. And you're doing your work. You show up in a space and things are different. There's one more thing I want to read. I see why Spirit told me to bring my journal down. I was like, why do I need that? I'm not going to use that. But let's see. Miss Eve. Okay, not Miss Seven. Miss Eve now. Thank you very much. She said, I am enjoying the conversation. Willingness to be willing is powerful. Yeah, the willingness to be willing. If you can't be willing to do it, are you willing to be willing? Because all God needs, the universe, the divine needs, is an open, is a yes. Let me say it that way. All right. I want to read this, and just thinking about it makes me want to cry. Not cry, tear up, because it always does. It touches me. This is the last live show we're doing this year. There are going to be more shows next Tuesday. 2 Tuesdays to come. But I'm just going to read this. So this is Emmett Fox, Emmet Fox, on love. It breaks me down every time I read it, so I need to get myself in state. Woo! There is no difficulty that enough love will not conquer. No, no disease that enough love will not heal. No door that enough love will not open. No gulf that enough love will not bridge. No wall that enough love will not throw down. No sin that enough love will not redeem. It makes no difference how deeply seated may be the trouble, how hopeless the outlook, how muddled the triangle, how muddled the tangle, how great the mistake. A sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. If only you can love enough, you will be the happiest and most powerful being in the world. Love is the answer. Love is the key. And we are living in a time where we have to redefine what love means. Love is so much more than the romantic love. I'm talking about a choice love. I'm talking about a matured love. If you could love enough, you would be the happiest and most powerful being in the world. If there ever was a time to love in a new way, this is it. I thank you all for this journey. I look forward to coming back doing new show, season 3 in January. I think it's January 5th. Stay tuned. Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, January 5th. I love you. And I thank God for you. I bless you. I appreciate you. And I pray and declare and affirm that whatever you're going through and growing through, whether you're going through a challenge, whether this conversation affirmed you, but you still feel a little bit wobbly, like, ooh, I wish I could be in that space, I join with you. I stand with you. And I am affirming that you can find the answer, the perfect answer for you, the answer that expands you, that elevates you, rather than have you go, oh, I don't know if we can do that. Love the ones you love the ones you know, love yourself, love in a new way. And I invite you, if you need assistance in really integrating all that you've gotten today, preparing for 2021, you can check out my website, lifecoachade.com, lifecoachade.com. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. There are many people out there. If it's not me, find somebody who can support you. And don't use your thoughts to attack yourself. Your deepest fear is not that you are inadequate. Your deepest fear is that you're powerful beyond measure. You are powerful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, my dear sister Robin. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, John, for stepping in. Anybody that I'm missing, those of you who are wherever you are, not sharing in the chat room, thank you, thank you. It's been a journey, and I look forward to keep growing with you, creating with you, expanding with you, crying with you, going out with you, and saying yay with you. It's a journey of life. And if you've lost loved ones, they've made their transitions, remember the love that you shared with them is still alive. Stay connected. Stay connected. And do yourself a favor and surround yourself with people who are going to hold you when you need it. You are never a burden. You are never a burden. When you are feeling alone, when you find yourself saying, I don't want to be a burden, that is your opportunity to give someone a gift to support you. We're going to release the show, the conversation with John Song. You're welcome here. And I want you, I got my thing in the way so I can't see it. Okay. Oh, that's not it. I want you to listen to this song as we release the conversation as the God in you, the God as you. Or maybe it's your grandmother. Maybe it's your grandfather. Maybe it's your child reminding you that you're welcome to this space of love. Once again, I bless you. I appreciate you. And I thank God for you. Peace and blessings. Thank you, Leslie, for all that you do behind the scenes. And there's so much good coming through each and every one of us. I'm out of here. JohnStringerInc.com. John Stringer, INC. You are welcome here.
There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out, slowly feel all that's around you, all that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community.